Hey, oh, hey, 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 I know, Peace, peace, peace. Welcome back to Everlutionary. Thanks for tuning in once again. We're here into the second month of 2025. Already 1 month down and 11 months to go. I recently celebrated a revolution around the sun. It was my opportunity to finish one long lap. I was traveling at 67,000 miles an hour, going really, really fast, and had a seatbelt on for some of the time, but most of the time was just scampering around and running around on the sand, along the edge of the water, riding ocean waves, climbing trees, watching sunsets, sometimes watching ice melt. And all that to say, I had a birthday and the Earth is traveling incredibly fast. Scientists say that it moves at least 67,000 miles an hour as it hurtles around the sun. It's incredible how I'm able to keep my feet on the ground. And perhaps that is the irony of it. And what keeps me grounded sometimes is knowing that I'm here with my feet on the ground, and it's amazing and incredible to be here and to have a solar return, to have a birthday. It's a real gift, and it's something that I use in my life as an opportunity to take assessment, to do some reflection, and to think about what I've been doing, to think about where I want to be going, and to just really remember what's most important to me. And I'm really glad to be here to get to reflect on that with all of you. Today, in this episode, I am thinking about how everything is in constant flux and change. And part of that is probably because I've been watching the sunset every night for the past 2 weeks. And when you watch the sunset every night, it's hard to not begin to notice that there is never a sunset where the clouds look the same and the colors are the same. There's never a sunset where it looks like it did the night before. Each sunset is a snowflake. And for those that are really tuned in, paying attention, you'll notice that the birds are serenading the sun as it goes down. The sunset every night is a chance to witness and watch impermanence, to watch change. And I am here now in a time of my life when I can reflect back towards when I was a teenager, and I can think about how I had such big dreams and ambitions for what I wanted to do in the world, and how so much of my life was about manifesting and materializing those dreams. And some of those dreams were big dreams, amazing ideas that I had when I was 18 years old, 22 years old, 28 years old, wanting to really make a huge impact on the world and do all I could to heal the world and create balance in the world and peace in the world. And I still to this day have those dreams. But the difference is, now that I'm in my mid-40s, the difference is I've learned deeply about the nature of impermanence, the nature of change. And one thing I've begun to realize and unravel in my own happiness is that if I hold on so tightly, and if I grasp and hold on so tightly to something and I don't want it to change, and I do all I can to keep it from changing, that I am creating the foundation for my own misery and my own suffering. And part of my liberation and my life work has been realizing that I'm not going to be the same person I was when I was in my 20s. And I'm not going to perhaps even live up to the great ideals or ambitions I had for my life. And that what's really profound is realizing that what's important to me now in my life right now in this moment is different than what was important to me in my life when I was, let's say, 10 years old or 18 years old or 25 years old. So even what is important to me in my life, that changes with time, that shifts. And if I'm able to hold on to that knowledge and not grasp so tightly to wanting to still be the person I was when I was 20 years old, if I can let go of that, then I give myself freedom to reimagine my life and to be who I am in this world today as the person that I am now. Not the person I used to be, but the person I am now. And all that to say, I am here really thinking deeply and reflecting, assessing, imagining what 2025 can be like, but also letting go of and shedding and trying not to hold on to so tightly the things in my life, even that I love. Because the things that I love in my life are perhaps the most beautiful things in my life, are things that if I hold on too tightly, I will begin to suffocate and I will begin to disintegrate with the tightness of my grasp. And the things I really appreciate and the things I really love are the things I can watch and look at from the distance. And I can see from the distance. And what I've been seeing from the distance is this beautiful relationship between nature and the sunsets and the clouds and the rain. Watching ice melt has been a deep practice of mine recently, just becoming slower and stiller, grounding in the reality that things move really fast, but also knowing that I am also like the ice and I am going to melt. So there's this beautiful quote by Thich Nhat Hanh that we're going to listen to right now, where he talks a little bit about understanding interbeing and the interconnectedness of life and how that is also connected to impermanence.
When I talk to the children about a cloud can never die, they understand. They can see that the cloud can only be transformed into the rain or into the snow. And when you hold your glass and you drink your tea, you can see that you are drinking clouds. And if you look into a river, you see nothing but cloud. And if you eat your ice cream in mindfulness, in wisdom, you see that you are eating cloud also. So these things are perfectly understandable to children.
I love how Thich Nhat Hanh, he helps us remember how we are all somehow connected to the cloud. And if we take a moment, we'll really see that, right? It's like a flower. If you have a flower and you really want to appreciate the flower, then part of the beauty of the flower is to know that it is impermanent. The beauty of the flower is inseparable from its impermanence, because if the flower was permanent, there would be less to cherish. We cherish something in our lives because we know it is impermanent. We know it is going to wilt away one day. It's going to pass away. It's going to dissolve. It's going to disintegrate. All life, the nature of reality in life is to rise and to pass. And when I really begin to steep myself in that knowledge, I feel a deep appreciation for all that does exist, because I know what exists is precious and also fleeting. It's impermanent. That is what makes it beautiful, is that it's not always going to be here. And that's where gratitude becomes a part of our waking reality. That is what gives birth to gratitude. And I'm so grateful that I could be this far along in my life. Like, what a gift to have lived this many years. And if you're listening and you can kind of relate to this right now, like if you feel sad, if you feel distraught, if you feel scared, remember that that too is an impermanent feeling. If you're feeling deep joy or elation in your life right now, remember too, that too is impermanent. And the wisdom and the knowledge of impermanence and the nature of change is not that it causes us to not be able to enjoy life, but what it does is it creates the wisdom to know when things are really good or things are really bad, that's actually not the end or the beginning. It's just a moment within the dance of existence. And to have and cultivate wisdom for me in life as I move through the world, it's really become about being steeped in deep joy. And I don't cause more suffering to myself by trying to keep things as they used to be, but creating permission for things to change and knowing things will change. And sure, maybe there's sadness or disappointment, but even when there's sadness or disappointment, there's perspective that that sadness or disappointment is impermanent and fleeting. And when that becomes a part of my waking reality, then I can be in long, deep states of joy and allow that to carry me through my life, not as a wave, but as like a part of the background of my understanding that all things rise and pass. And that's ancient wisdom. That's not something I'm coming up with here on my own. That's ancient wisdom from yogic texts, from ancient Buddhist teachings. Eastern philosophy teaches a lot about non-attachment and teaches us a lot about knowing how to let go and how to gracefully move through the world without causing more suffering for ourselves or becoming attached to something so fiercely that if it changes, we become upset and disappointed. So that's the wisdom I'm cultivating here as I'm moving into my next lap and revolution around the sun. I'm cultivating that deep affinity to impermanence and to change as the nature and the background of reality. Now, how does that relate to what's happening in the world? There have been multiple environmental disasters, wildfires that have really ravaged and destroyed the areas around Los Angeles. There's been catastrophic floods in parts of the world, not just the United States, but all over the world. We've been seeing climate change having a huge impact on people's livelihood and lives. And then geopolitically, we're seeing the impact of a new political leadership in the United States of America that's deeply impacting the stability of people's day-to-day lives, because it is a little chaotic when some of what we are used to or what is considered to be the important social nets of our society. And as we navigate this new political landscape, there is a reason to also feel distraught and really hurt and disturbed. And that's also okay and necessary and important. So it's one thing to hold the truth, this absolute truth of reality that things are changing and constantly in flux. And there's another important piece to also hold, and that is that while we're here and while we're alive, we have a collective responsibility to the well-being and the nurturing and the caretaking of other humans, other life forms that we share this planet with, and also the planet itself as a living ecosystem. And that care and that caretaking and protectorship and guardianship that we have is a fundamental part of being alive in this moment. So how do we work towards building a world where places are protected, places like Gaza are protected, and the indigenous inhabitants of that land are not forcefully removed and resettled onto some other land? How do we protect that interest of the people who belong to that land so that it's not just recolonized? And at the same time, how do we also hold the truth that things are going to constantly be changing? And even though we're fighting for social justice, which is fairness and equity and the upliftment of all people everywhere, while we fight for that standard and we fight for people to have their rights recognized and to be valued and seen as human beings, we also know that in our struggles to achieve that, we're not always going to be successful. And sometimes success is not going to be immediate. Sometimes success is going to be 10 years down the line or 50 years down the line. And the things we're working for now, we might not see the actual results of that work, the impact of those efforts until decades in the future. And that doesn't mean what we're doing now is not important. It just means while we're engaged in the work, we have to remember that it's not always going to turn out the way we want it to turn out. And when it doesn't turn out the way we want it to turn out, how can we remain balanced, equanimous, rooted, and anchored? How do we keep and maintain our sanity while also not giving up on the dream? Knowing that the dreams will shift and the dreams will change. Just like my dreams when I was 7 years old, or the dreams I had for my life when I was 18 years old, are very different than the dreams I have for my life now today. My dreams have changed. So even dreams change. And that's the tension. There's so much tension right now. Lots of tension. There's a lot of psychic tension, a lot of emotional tension, a lot of physical tension. And that tension is expressing itself in our lives in different ways. And for some of us, we're experiencing it through sickness, or getting hurt, or finding ourselves in car accidents, or finding ourselves in situations that are not turning out the way we want them to turn out. And for other people, the tension is expressing itself as propulsion and inspiration towards creating new poetry and writing new songs and giving birth to social movements and activism that otherwise wasn't there in your life. So it's motivation. So the tension also becomes both. It's sometimes a positive tension, it's sometimes a negative tension. And no matter which way it goes, and no matter how it lands on me or how it lands on you, that tension is something that I actively work to alchemize in my life. And I alchemize that in my life by reminding myself that I will never give up on the things that are most important to me. And I will always remember that the nature of reality is change and impermanence. And that I am somehow standing still or sitting down on a blue-green marble that's hurtling around the solar system at 67,000 miles an hour. And the irony of that, it's humbling. It's deeply humbling. So my birthday here, it's this moment that is of reflection, but it's also a moment to really kind of come and bring all this work into perspective. For me, the perspective is I am not the same person I was. I never will be that person again. And that's okay. My body is changing. I've got aches in my knees and in my arms that I've never had before. My energy levels are different now than they were when I was 18 years old on the soccer field, playing soccer all day for 8 hours a day. And that's okay. I can't expect to be the person I was then, because if I do, I'm creating the groundwork for my own misery and my own suffering. So I embrace where I am now. I embrace my new body. I embrace my new mind. I embrace the wisdom that I'm cultivating with time. And I watch the impermanence. I see it. I listen to it. And through that process, I can slow down enough to know when are my actions going to really create difference? When are they going to create impact? And am I working too hard to make something happen? And if I'm working too hard to make something happen, then maybe that thing is not something that I need to be making happen. And it's not because some external force is saying that's not for you, or, you're not supposed to have that, or wasn't meant to be. That's not the narrative for me. For me, the narrative is not, oh, it wasn't meant to be. The narrative is, no, let me find something that comes easier to me. Because as I'm getting older, I want to have more and more flow in my life where it's not such a struggle all the time. And that's the beauty of growing older. It's being able to release and to not feel so attached to making everything the way I need it to be. Does that mean we stop fighting? Does that mean we no longer organize and activate in our communities and in our schools? No, it does not mean that. We fight as hard as ever for the things that we value and the things we care about. We never give up on fairness and equality and love and compassion. We never give up on those things. And in the process of working towards those things, we remain rooted in knowing that it's a long, long, long journey. And if it doesn't happen today and it doesn't happen tomorrow, it still will happen one day. And after it happens on that day, it's going to go the other way, because the pendulum swings. The nature of reality is the rising and the passing. And I hope all of you listening and tuned in, wherever you are, as you're moving deeper into 2025, you can stay rooted in remembering that things are going to change and things are going to keep changing. And we definitely don't want to ever give up on the dreams. And at the same time, we want to know and embrace that deep knowledge that things are impermanent. And the things that feel like are cataclysmic right now, those things are also going to pass. And so that's the dance. That's the dance. That's the mental health that we can continue to lean into, a way to keep balance in a world that feels like it's sometimes turning upside down. So tap into your life's blueprint and keep yourself steady on the journey. Please stay connected with me as we'll be moving into the next part of the year together. I've got some opportunities for you to study with me coming up. If you would like to join me in California at the Esalen Institute, it's about 3 hours from San Francisco. I'll be teaching there from April 7th to April 11th, a course and a retreat called Inward Bound. I'd love for you to check that out. Information on that is in the show notes. You can also join my new Substack page and check out some of the poetry and the writing and the teachings I have available there. Please make sure you share this episode with a friend and keep being kind to each other. as you walk through this journey on this little blue-green marble. Peace. Everlutionary, restoring balance and healing the natural world, is brought to you by me, Hawah Kasat. If you would like to find out more about me and my story, head to hawah.us. That's HAWAH.US. And then make sure to search for me in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Thank you for listening. Stay in touch. Peace.